Welcome back to Belong, Become, Be Sent. This is your host, Patrick Taylor. And I am joined here today with Mr. Josh Beck, Dodger Vaughn, and Miss Tami Downs.
Hi.
So today we're going to be interviewing Tami Downs with what she does with ROC, how she's affiliated. She's actually one of our board members, so we got to be extra good today so we can be able to get free pizza, I guess. But first, we're going to talk about what we did a couple weeks ago. We actually had the opportunity to go serve with Helping His Hands with Mr. Scott Shipman. What a mess.
What a mess.
And so, Josh and Dodger, I'm going to have you all talk just a little bit about what we did that week.
You want me to go first?
You go first.
So essentially what we did is we got to help a family that was in need of needing a house, and there was a tornado that went through just about 2 years ago or so.
December of 2021. Yep, so they've been without a house for a little over a year, almost a year and a half at this point.
Yeah. So we got to do electrical work, we did digging, siding, and I think there was one other thing, right? Or no?
Patrick finished their back deck and
Back deck.
got to play with some power equipment, which I know Patrick hated every minute of that.
Let's be clear. Nobody else was even raising
No, I wasn't
their
getting up in the
hand.
bucket of that either. So I mean,
Yeah, there was one point, I think it was Thursday afternoon that we were there. Me and the guy that I was working with, Tanner, we had to go all the way up to the very peak of that, which is approximately 30 foot, because our bucket reached out at 35 and it stopped when we just passed the peak. That was when it started to rain and the wind was right about 30 miles an hour or so. So we were swaying back and forth just a little bit. And we were just waiting for one of those ball bearings to break in the bottom of that. But it would have been a beautiful fall.
oh yeah.
So, Dodger, you had the luxury of doing the most hard work on that week. So explain that.
You mean digging the septic trench to nowhere? Yeah. So
To China.
So
to China.
yeah, we dug somewhere. So the house was not sitting in the new house is not sitting in the same place that the old house sat, and so they weren't exactly sure where the septic lines ran. So they said, well, they think they run this way, and so we dug out from the house towards the septic tank to try to figure out where those pipes were. We didn't find it. And so then we dug around the septic tank and we didn't find it. And so we ultimately came to the conclusion that the septic lines were ran underneath the garage that had been poured concrete, floors and footers. And so they just ultimately decided that they were going to have to tap the septic tank, which I was really glad we were not there for. So, but it really was a great week.
Look at the time. We have to go back.
Sure. Guess we got to be back in Ohio. But it was a good week. We had a good trip. It was really neat to get to meet Mark and Paula, the homeowners, and just hear their story. Hear really, honestly, like how God took something that was obviously a negative in their lives and really started using that to have Christian people invest in them, and to hear the people who were there last year who got to meet them talk about like how much deeper they've grown in their relationship with Christ over the past year. That's been really, really cool to hear those stories and get to talk with them and hear about the hope that Helping His Hands bring them and the relationships they're building with people. They're God's people. So just really, really good week. Weather, probably not the best we've ever had. I mean, it's usually a little bit warmer.
It was a little chilly.
It was just
a little bit
chilly. But other than that, it was a great week. Great week.
It was. I definitely had a lot of fun on it, and we got to work with some pretty amazing people, a bunch of amazing kids who came out, wanted to work, and I was shocked the amount of people who just dove right in, which was pretty cool. Normally on a mission trip, not knocking any of our guys, but there's occasionally we got to kind of keep pushing them just a little bit. But then we didn't have an issue. We actually had to tell them to just chill out a few times because of that. So moving right along, we're going to jump in to our last interview that Miss Tami is completely dreading at the fact. So
I've drug her through worse. She knows.
Well, you know,
Not usually on camera.
Yeah,
though.
that's true. That's true.
Well, now it's being recorded. So
Perfect.
For all the world to see.
Yep,
Yes.
Yep.
Hello, world.
We'll post it to YouTube.
That's right.
Alrighty. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and like how you have the position at ROC that you do?
Okay, so I don't even know when Dodger
We
and
met.
I met. Yeah,
Well,
like
okay, so-
a long time ago.
Yeah, Dava was she wasn't even in middle school yet.
Yeah,
right?
she was still probably
she's in
elementary
her-
school.
Her second year PT school.
She's in
And
second.
then she did a master's before that. So let's just say over 10 years.
It's been a while. It's been a while, Patrick, that I've
right.
known Dodger, and so
I'm sorry for that.
Love
you,
Dodger.
Dodger.
She is.
I get myself into things like this because when Dodger says, "Hey, Tammy, do you want to help?" I say yes, and I'm not sure why.
Because it's always an adventure.
It's always an adventure. It's
Oh,
always
what
an
a mess.
adventure. So yeah, what was the question? How did I get on the ROC board? Is that our
Yes.
question?
Yes.
So okay, so Courtney was originally a part of ROC when you started working with the ROC program. Courtney actually had been coming to Rio, and she decided to change her major, and that took her to OU, and so she became a member of ROC, and then my second daughter, Dava, started going to OU, and she joined ROC, and so I just got to go to various outings and some programs. I have the distinction, I think, of being at the only function where the fire department has ever been called.
I can't believe we're going to admit that on
And-
camera.
It's my claim to fame, is that I
Phone.
But what she doesn't tell you is she is the reason the fire
I am
department
the
showed up.
reason.
I was
yes.
going to say there was some big bold letters right above
There.
your head where you said that.
Yeah, so there was a Halloween party,
Always Halloween.
and there might have been some homemade mac and cheese. How innocent is homemade mac and cheese that might have been a little bit overflowing in the pan, might have caused some smoke in the apartment, might have gotten the entire apartment complex evacuated with at least 2 ladder trucks showing up. Yeah.
So that's what was on the newspaper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
interesting to show up for the party and to see all of the ROC people that you're expecting to meet just standing down on the.
It was the smoke machine,
Yeah.
Dodger.
Yeah.
Just blame it on the smoke machine.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly. It was
yeah.
too sensitive.
It was
the
very-
sensitivity was turned up too high.
Yes, that's obviously what it was. It wasn't my fault, I'm sure.
The smoke machine and some food coloring.
I'm not really known for my cooking skills. This might be why.
Well, you know, we've all had our fair share of things, and I'm not one to judge because I've burned a few things. My aunt has actually kicked me out of the kitchen a time or two.
See?
But
It's not
I
just
do,
me.
I do know how to turn the grill on when it's freezing cold and 20 degrees outside, and she doesn't want to go out there because she's barefoot.
There you go.
So I do know how to do that and try to halfway cook, but well, that's for another discussion.
That's a different.
That's a different one. Stay tuned next week.
Yeah. News. Anyway, so moving on. So I've had the opportunity to actually serve with you on a mission trip, which is pretty cool to see you talk to the kids. You seem to focus a little bit more towards the kids, the younger ones than the older ones, I guess. Probably because of what you do. Maybe just a little bit. I understand that. So after we answer this, I'm going to actually have you talk a little bit about what you do. So what is your experience coming from the board and the adulthood, going on mission trips and trying to keep everybody together and deal with Dodger in particularly, because we always love some good stories. So try to talk about your mission trips affiliated with ROC.
Sure. I have had the pleasure of going on several mission trips. And so part of what I actually love about the ROC community and being a part of those mission trips is I'm not in charge. That this is a student-led organization.
You weren't?
I'm no. No.
So what we're
So
saying is,
I frequently remind some of the other folks that these are adults and that we can offer guidance and encouragement, but I really do try to not step up in that role, because I think that that's why those students are there. It's their time to shine, their time to learn, and I'm there to be a foot soldier. That's my job, and I kind of like it that way. It's fun to actually, especially when the girls were there, to watch them take that role and then see what all that they could accomplish. But yeah,
I was trying to
a
think
lot of
how many
things.
trips you've been on with us. Quite a few.
Couple.
New Orleans twice, right? Mexico.
I only went to New Orleans once.
Just once,
Dava
okay.
went the first time.
Okay, so then Mexico,
Mexico,
Mountain Mission School.
Mountain Mission School, Arizona,
Yep.
the Dominican.
Yeah, that's right. So
Yeah.
quite a few. I think you definitely hold the honor of being the one board member at ROC that's been on the most trips.
The most
with us.
mission trips.
Yeah, with
That's
us,
maybe a
for
better distinguishment
Yeah.
than calling fire trucks.
That's
maybe.
true. Perhaps.
Maybe,
yeah.
I don't know.
let's just hope we don't have to call them while we're on a mission trip.
Yeah.
We'll keep that to a minimum.
Yeah.
We try. We try.
Well, all you got to do is try.
Yeah, but I always just find it very heartwarming on those trips. I love working with other people. You just tend to have this like-mindedness. Everybody is just really focused and trying to work really hard to accomplish whatever the goal is. And it just always seems like we're all on our best behavior, which is maybe not necessarily what happens when I work. Sorry, I hit the mic.
You're good.
But yeah, so it's just a very different atmosphere, and I really enjoy it. And
Now, when you
just that focus, being able to be focused in on God work instead of just maybe spinning our wheels. I work for the government, so we spin our wheels a lot.
I say now, when you said we were all on our best behavior, you've never served with my dad yet, right?
Oh, yes.
Oh, did
yes.
you? Oh, that's right. In Arizona, yeah, okay.
Yeah, in Arizona and in the Dominican.
Oh, that's right.
Yes,
Yeah.
your dad really likes
Well, you're
to
very
make
gracious.
friends. He likes to make friends with the people that hold the guns.
Yes.
When we go to
Yeah.
those places.
Yep.
He does.
Yeah. Which,
Oh, Don Vaughn.
for future talent and for a little bit of sneak peek, we are actually having him on here too. Eventually, schedules are a little bit fun to work with, but he will be coming. And if he's watching this, I'm coming for you, buddy.
It should be great fun. It should be great fun.
We've got that hour limit.
Right, yeah.
We got to try to. We'll see what we can do.
We'll
So,
start.
Dodger, why don't you talk about a little bit how your experience is working with Tami and Josh? I don't know if Josh, you haven't served with
had the
her.
opportunity yet.
You have
Okay.
not had the privilege yet.
All right,
So,
so
yeah.
well, I'll say Tami and I actually started working together years ago through camp, and at the time, like I hadn't met you before,
Right.
and so you came with Bruce Gooseman, who was the youth minister at your
Yes.
church at the time, and
I was scared of Dodger.
that's what David said. David said I creeped her out. I think that's what she said.
Who wouldn't be scared of Dodger?
Yeah, I know. But
Amen for that.
so we served together at camp for well over 10 years. Again, I've lost track of how many years that was. And then obviously, making that transition from the world of like high school, junior high ministry to OU, and then having both of our girls come through the program at Ohio University, and even like really, Courtney kind of played a role in us being here in a way, in that she was here as she started her education. And I remember her texting me saying, "You should come to Rio. You should come to Rio." I was like, "Oh, Courtney, we're never going to do that." And so then obviously, it turned out that we did later on. But again, so having both of them in the campus ministry, and like one of the things that we do with our board of directors is that we really want a very, I guess, diverse group of people coming together to lead the ministry forward. People would have different insights about the ministry and have experienced in different ways. And so like one of the strategic roles that we wanted filled on that board was to have a parent of somebody who had been in the ministry. And so it was just a really natural, I guess, outcome then to reach out to Tami and say, look, Courtney and Dave have both been through ROC, and we'd love to have you as a parent be on the board. And so she agreed. Again, not knowing what she was getting into, I don't think, at the time. And then again, obviously having board members that go with you on these trips, I think it's pretty fantastic too, because a lot of times your board is hearing about the events of what's happening in the ministry secondhand, but you go on these trips or you burn macaroni and cheese at a Halloween party and you get to experience those things.
Yeah. Well.
But
And it's good.
yeah, it is really good. But yeah, so that's been really, really neat. To have this friendship with her that's kind of transcended a couple, almost decades now. And then having her invest in the ministry has been really special. And now her daughter Courtney, actually former student, is also a part of the board. So her family is basically just eventually going to run ROC. Josh and I will be gone, and they'll just be in charge of everything. Wait till David comes back.
Gotta love Dava.
I was going to say you have also worked with Dava. So.
I have.
Yeah.
I had the privilege to ride in a long car ride on the way home.
Yes, yeah.
Because of certain things happened with me. Thanks, Dodger.
No, I didn't shove you out of that truck. You made the decision to jump out. Let's be clear.
I didn't. Okay, correction.
I was still up on the roof of the house.
Correction. I didn't jump out. I fell out.
Okay.
There's a tad bit of difference.
I didn't shove you though, so let's be clear.
Yes,
I was
you heard
full
my
story up above you.
You heard my whelp of
heard your
agony.
cry for help.
Yeah, and I definitely needed it.
Yeah.
So, Tami, talk about a little bit about what you do, your job experience, and kind of a little bit. I know you can't talk about it all, but just a little bit, and how Christ has kind of worked through you to have that position, and how He works through you to stay there.
So that gets real deep really fast. So I right now am a supervisor for foster care and adoption at Washington County Children's Services, and I have been there for 29 years.
Wow.
Very long years. Most of that time I was in adoption, and so we work with children of all ages. We're working with foster families, and right now I have like 8 staff members, and so when you sent that question of like how does this all go together, I was hired in '93. In '97, my father passed away, and that's very difficult. And then of course I'm working with people who abuse children, people who do really horrific things. And so there was a lot of conversations with God as far as like, excuse me, if you needed a list, I can give you a list. I can give you a list of people that nobody would ever miss. And then thankfully, prayerfully, I came to realize that like that's a completely horrible attitude. That's the wrong attitude. I do work with people that do some really bad things, but the reason that they're doing that is because they've missed this. They are not connected with God. They are not listening to that word. They are stuck in addictions. They are stuck in their trauma. And so what I try to always go back to is that we were put here to do God's works. The Bible tells us that we are put here and that God had work for us to do. And so I have to center my attitude around the fact that those people may still be able to do their work. It just hasn't quite come to pass yet. And so I need to be able to give them all of the grace that I can to get them to the next step. And sometimes that's easier than others. But that's where I try to come from.
And I know you directed that question at Tami, but I kind of wanted to share a cool experience that I got to witness, talking about her career. A few years ago, we were doing like a year-end dinner as a sponsor, donor appreciation type thing. And one of our parents of a student had came to that dinner, and like she saw Tami and her face lit up, and she's like, "That's Tami." And so I was like, "Well, yeah, yeah, all right." But like, so she went on to explain that Tami was involved in the adoption process. They had adopted the student who's now a ROC member, and then like, so this is really crazy, like God thing, in that like they were both in the same room at the same time, both affiliated with ROC, and then this is where God is just showing off.
Yes.
So then Tami messages me one day. She says, "Hey, I'm going to be at OU. Do you care if Dave and I swing by for crosswalks?" I'm like, "No, I'd love that." And so they're there when this young man stands up to give his ROC talk. I had no idea what he was talking about. You know what he was talking about? It's adoption. And so I'm like, man, like that's so cool. I mean, the way that God worked that out. And so just really, again, like, and we talk about that a lot, with our students. Not everybody that comes out of ROC is going to go into campus ministry or be a worship minister or youth minister, but like everybody has a role to play in the kingdom.
Yep.
And even doing what you're doing, in the lives of these young people is making a huge impact, I believe, in God's kingdom. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit nail right on the head. I mean, he shows us different passageways that he works through and different people that goes through it. He definitely shows off time to time, to say the least. But I completely understand exactly what you're talking about. I've had the opportunity to talk to some people, and it's a turnaround a couple years later. It could be a week later, it could be a month later, it could be 3 or 4 years later. But eventually, you'll see the reason why. We actually had the opportunity, Josh and I, on this mission trip to talk to a couple people, and we quite frequently said it may not make sense now.
Right.
It doesn't have to. That's not our position in God's word and God's glory to know why. We know what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to serve. We're supposed to be his hands and feet and let his word go through our voice, and to be able to share his word. I actually had somebody tell me not long ago, and I think I've shared this a couple times, is it doesn't matter what you talk about in a day, no matter how many words you say, but as long as you talk about Jesus just a little bit, you've done plenty. And that it really comes to my heart is every day I keep trying to talk about him more and more to different people, and that's been able to open a lot of passageways with people. Not just myself. I don't look for the credit, but there's been people to come up to me and says, "Hey, I'm really glad you talked to me." So, Josh, I'm gonna have you talk about a little bit about how.
I'm still here.
Yeah, he's still here. Don't worry. He may be muted, but it's fine. Love you, buddy. So talk about how God that you've seen in this past year, several months working with ROC, seen the passageways open and pretty much people's eyes open when you hear them talk about Jesus, and they're working on mission trips and being able to go serve and things like that. So take it away.
Yeah, it was actually really cool, especially with this past mission trip, because we did a thing where we did the letters, the little card slips, and because I have times and everything like that, and I think all of us get that, especially in ministry, of like, are we doing enough, or are we making truly an impact of what we're doing here? And I was reading through the little slips and stuff as we're driving back from the mission trip, and there was at least like 3 or 4 of them that were like, "You've made a huge impact on my life. Like, I'm thankful for you. If you ever question like your career path, like this is where God has called you to."
Yep.
And so that's just been a big eye opener for me personally, just to see that like God is moving, God is working in this ministry, that He does clearly have a place for me here. And that's why, like, when we talked about a specific job opportunity, I was like, "Hey, like."
Tami doesn't know about that. She doesn't
Not yet. Now she does.
So what you're saying is
we were careful up until this point. So I think
I'm just saying people are trying to draft us. The people
trying
that we're honestly.
Now he's trying to defend.
You're not trying to move to Mexico, are you?
No, he's not.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yes,
Not
he
that that's
is.
happened
Yes,
to
he
us.
is.
I'll say this
Again.
Honestly, I was joking a little bit, but there's a lot of truth to it. It's interesting to stand back and watch. As ROC does what God does through ROC. Like people see, the people that we're churning out, that are leaders, and they're like, hey, we could use someone like that. And so
Yes.
someone literally just this week reached out to me and said, hey, do you have anyone? And I was like, yeah, but I don't want to let him go. So I was like, no, I'll ask. And so I did. I asked Josh.
You didn't want to be the horrible person
Right.
to
Yeah.
not
That's right.
ask and say
So,
anything. I was
that's
like,
right.
I'd really appreciate it,
But I did do that preemptive prayer that right before I left. Please, Lord,
Please don't let
I
him
can't-
go.
I don't really want to replace another staff member. Anyway, so yeah.
that's how it works. But yeah, it's been awesome just to see that like God clearly wants me here, but also He's been moving in every mission trip. Just being able to see the students and the younger students grow from it, especially, has just impacted me personally, because I grew up in an area that was crowded with a bunch of people, but I never really saw Christ reflected in that area. And so, because public school and just everything else that lined up in my life, it just never was apparent for me. But being within ministry, it is an amazing opportunity, especially with it being my job, which still blows my mind out of the water. I'm like, I'll wake up and I'll be like, I'm a minister. Like, it just doesn't click half the time. And it's an awesome opportunity that I've been blessed with, and just having God open up that door for me to come into ministry and be able to meet Dodger and go from there, just to see where all of it is taking and where Rio is going, and even OU. It's been so awesome.
It has been really cool, and it's been cool for the students as well, to see you grow. We saw just a year ago that you came in and you were kind of just hung back in the back of the room, didn't know what to do, what to say, who to talk to. But we've talked several times about taking that blind step, taking that leap of faith, being comfortable with being uncomfortable. And you were okay with it. And you said, you know what, Lord, this is exactly where you're wanting me to be. And if you're going to show me my path, I have to at least try. And He shuts doors. I mean, that's His job. He is to shut doors and open doors for us. And He will do that to make us work for Him the best that we can. And He makes us special in that way. And it's been really cool to see you grow, be on this podcast, and be able to talk about your life story, and interview with others, and doing your sermons on Mondays, and seeing you work on a mission trip too. Is I know you for sure. You probably knew nothing about doing electrical.
Nope.
Do you still know anything about electrical?
I did E&E class when I was at college, so I knew really, really basic stuff for cars, not for houses. So
I do
take with it what you will. But I learned from a student of mine, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah, only if we could just pan the camera.
He's like,
But I do appreciate that you all try to keep Josh humble and refer to him as the intern.
There it is. Officially in May will be a year
That you've been on staff.
that I've been on staff.
That's right.
Yes.
One day you'll look up and nobody will remember you were an intern. It's okay.
Hey, maybe when all of these students leave and then the new students come in, but they'll probably like word of mouth. It'll still happen.
Yeah, they'll
you know?
tell them. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Josh the intern back. Yeah.
Oh, don't worry. There will be a banner.
A banner.
There will be a big
My
8-foot
next
banner.
birthday
Nice.
present when I turn 24 is going to be this big banner that says Josh the intern.
Or I'm envisioning like the back where it says student driver, just the intern.
The intern. They're going to just slap it on the back of my car and I'm never going to notice.
Nope, you'll never know. It'll be nice and reflective.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Okay, so moving on, because we have fun, and if you work in Christianity and faith, and you work with different people, if you go at it at a wrong way, and you go at it like it's a job, and you go at it like you're getting paid 9 to 5 on a weekly basis, and you got to work a 40-hour week, and you dread it, and even though we record this on Monday, it's been fun, but we go at it and we keep, exactly what Scott Shipman says, eyes wide open, ears in tune. You have to. You have the option to not, but if you do, your life will be miserable. Your walk in faith will be terrible, and it will just lead you down a hole that it's hard to come out of, and I know that because I've been down that hole.
Yeah.
And we've talked about how to keep growing and keep shaping our life, and just because we work a different job in a different place that we actually have to tell people no, and we have to be serious time to time, we still let faith grow through us. And as a student going into the real world, it's sometimes very confusing, and it's sometimes hard to see that now as the adults in the room will say, well, yeah, we've dealt with that, but we had to learn the hard way. So it takes time to learn that. So I'm going to start with Dodger, and then I'm going to let Miss Tami tell us a little bit. But Dodger, what's kind of some advice coming from the adult side of things, talking down to a student about trying to work a job or go into a career field, but still keep walking with Christ?
For sure. So I guess I would start by saying, despite the stereotypes and perceptions of a youth minister, campus minister, like we do more than play dodgeball and order pizza. I know Courtney sent that video to me of like where the youth ministers were talking about their job descriptions, but I know all the numbers of the pizza places in town. And so then David said, I thought they were just talking about Dodgers. Thank you. But no, so there's obviously parts of every job, there's parts of my job that are extraordinarily tough. There are parts of my job that I don't always like to do. And so, but again, recognizing that God has called you to that place for a purpose, and just trying to honor him in that. And so like if I can honor God by sitting down and poring over a line item in the budget, as much as I hate to do that, then I'm going to do that. If I can honor God by like going out and trying to fundraise for the organization, as much as I don't like to do that, then I can honor God in that. And so again, it's not different. I think even in your 9-to-5 job or your outside of the church job, how do you honor God through that? Look for those ways, like you were talking about Scott's favorite saying, eyes wide open, ears in tune, heart receptive, could be Jesus. We all have that opportunity every day to impact somebody, and even in a position where I know you can't specifically always say, hey, by the way, John 3:16 says, but you can still demonstrate what Jesus' love looks like to somebody who maybe has never felt that before.
Yep. And moving on to you, Miss Tami, tell us about some advice to give to the youngsters of the group.
The youngsters.
How old are you? Got some Werther's Originals in your pocket.
Well,
He didn't want to call you old.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dodger.
I'm sorry. So, so many things are going on in my mind. So, I will say, coming from the perspective, I mentioned I work in the government. So I actually one time got a verbal warning because I prayed with a child. With a child who went to church and whose brother had run away from home. And she said, I don't know how to help him. And I said, there is nothing you can do to help him. But like, I know that you go to church. Would you like to pray for your brother? And when I told my supervisor that, she gave me a verbal warning. So, don't ask, don't tell.
That's right.
But what I have learned through this process is that, I guess that's my advice. So my advice to students is no matter what your job is, no matter who you're working with, we just have to represent God. We have to let our light shine. And so that's the advice. Let your light shine. Say what you need to say. If you're not allowed to say, let's prayerfully go here, then they know what you mean anyways. Yeah. So we just have to be ourselves and be present and give people grace. And what I have come to see over the years is that even when you're not talking about God, if somebody has a question or if somebody has a concern, sometimes they'll come and they'll be like, so Tami. and I'm like, okay, let's go talk. When I go on mission trips, people don't understand when you go on vacation, you go work somewhere. Yeah, a lot of times that's what we do. Why? It opens up great doors just to be able to talk to people about why we do the things we do. So that's my biggest advice. Just let your little light shine.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that. I'm going to add on to it just a little bit.
Yeah, please.
Is what I've come to find out is, like I said before, is as long as you talk about Jesus, you're doing something right. I found that sometimes we get in those deep conversations with somebody about life and situations that they're dealing with or what we're dealing with. And sometimes, at least for me, I have that just feeling in my heart to start talking about Jesus and the love and to share my testimony with them. And Josh has seen it several times. Isaac's seen it several times as well. And we've both had those conversations together. And that's God working through us. It feels like we're spilling our tea out a lot of times, but it's him working through us, talking about his love, his passion, his word, and just to be able to share it. And a lot of times you don't necessarily hear it, but you see it, because you may talk about something completely random, like a story you did 3 years ago, but to them that's a complete life change. Yeah. God works our words in ways that we can never imagine. He works it just the way that he needs it for them to hear. We could talk about it for an hour like Mr. Don Vaughn, but his words mean something, and he makes it work. So if you have that struggles, like I work this job at Petland and I can't really talk about Jesus with the hamster, so what am I supposed to do? Well,
evangelizing hamsters.
Well, I was going to say a turtle, but but there's always the opportunity, and don't pass it. If you get written up for it, you're supposed to be written up for it. God's working that way in a reason. That person saw that that's your life. That's the position you're going. That's your walk, is you're willing to talk about it in a position or a job that, may say in the bold print, do not talk about type deal. But you're going to do it anyway, because that's the love of God that you have. Just because we're Christians doesn't mean we're going to break the rule. There's going to be laws and rules that we break to love for him. Ultimately, he is the higher power. He is the goal that we strive to be. So we're going to kind of wrap up with that. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how you can get connected with ROC, and then I'm going to have our famous
intern.
There it is.
Mr. Josh Beck, pray for us.
Now you're in on it. There it is.
Don't worry, we'll get stickers made.
Oh gosh,
slap it on the front of the fridge. So if you're wanting to follow us on Instagram or Facebook, you can do that on Reach Out on Campus. Anytime that you see us around on Rio, you're more than willing to stop us and talk to us. We normally have a shirt on that says Reach Out on Campus, or our famous black and white hats that I still don't have, Dodger.
We're getting new ones.
Yeah, I'm getting you a new one. It's got a leather ROC logo on it.
Oh, see, we're moving up in the world here. So if you're wanting to talk to us, just don't mind. Send us a text, DM, send us a message on Facebook. You can text here on YouTube, I believe now. So that'll work. And if you still can't get a hold of us, you can go around Rio or OU and see our QR codes that are posted all over the walls, that we flood the walls that are still there from last year.
We like to be thorough.
But yeah, we are very thorough. Exactly.
Sure, we got campus covered.
So, Mr. Josh Beck, if you would so kindly pray for us.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's pray. Father God, I just thank you for this opportunity that we're able to just gather together to be able to talk and get to know Tami a little bit more. I don't know her very well personally, but it's just been awesome just to be able to kind of hear her story, what she gets to do in her everyday life, and just being able to hear the stories of how you work in her life and in her job especially. Lord, we thank you for her. We thank you for the ROC crew and everybody in it. We're just so blessed to be here, to be able to fellowship together, to be able to grow in your word and be able to get to know you better, but also to be able to just be able to know new people. That's always a great and glorious thing, to be able to meet new people that we never thought we would meet in the first place, but because of ROC, we've been able to gather together and just being able to get to know each other better and grow in fellowship. Lord, we thank you for this day. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. And as always, we greatly thank you for watching us here on YouTube. We also think that you follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and we hope to see you on a next mission trip, on a project or so forth or another. But as always, I hope to see you next Crosswalk.